It's time for Get or Forget in Stage 2, Week 4. Of course, this is the last week for Pacific, okay? So in terms of who you're forgetting and who you're potentially getting rid of, it's probably your Pacific players, because this is the last game that they will play in Game Week 5. It is just EMEA and Americas, as you can see just here. So my advice is generally, at this point, if you've got, quite a few Pacific players, get rid of them. Right, start to look for other potential better options. For instance, in my team this week, and I didn't have a good week, I'm probably going to get rid of my Paper X players and go in for someone else. I have a choice between Genji or Paper X. We'll get into that in a little bit, but let's talk about some other teams first. And I am just going to go in order here that we see the games up and talk about some of these teams. So Heretics, right? They play Foot this week, and Heretics next week have got Giants. So I think if you do want to go for Heretics players, if you've got some money to spend, I think that this is a good week to, get into Team Heretics. I think that they're pretty, just a good team. And yeah, we'll be doing pretty well for you overall. I think this is just a good time overall to go in on Team Heretics. So yeah, Heretics a good buy. Obviously, you're probably not going to be indexing into Foot this week because they play Team Heretics. Their last game, Foot, is against BBL. So, two tough games. I would avoid Foot pretty much at all costs. Apex versus Koi. Now, this one I really do want to talk about because here's the thing about Apex Koi. Probably like me, a lot of you have an Apex player sitting on your bench. Right? That would be my guess. Here's the thing about these Apex players. Okay, particularly like for me, Olizera, right? But like Olizera, Molzy, okay, Avova hasn't been great. But if you got Batu, Molzy, Olizera, right? If you've got those players, you actually could play them against Koi. Like, Apex have been, losing these games, but fairly close. And, like you saw from the points averages there, they're averaging 6 points a game, those players, right? You'll probably have players on your teams that score less than that. And they're playing against Koi, which is probably, their most winnable game, potentially. I'm just saying you could play your Apex players this week. Now, I indexed into Koi last week. It didn't go great. I'm not feeling great about it, but I have to see it through because they're playing against Apex, so it is what it is. Gentle Mates and Giants. Personally, I mean, look, they play each other. I don't know who will win that game. Mates then play Vitality. Giants then play against Team Heretics. I would just avoid both these teams because you don't know what you're going to get. Navi versus KC. I know a lot of you have KC players. Obviously, this isn't, you're going to stick with that. Navi. Could they beat KC? Yes, they then play Koi. Like, if you have a Navi player, I think it's possible you play them. Like, I think it's okay. Again, I wouldn't be, looking to buy players from these teams, but, they're not terrible options. Okay, on to Pacific and some of the players that we want to sell. So let's just dive into the actual Pacific games and talk about who you want to keep, who you want to sell for this last week, if you've got multiple players. A lot of you will probably have Genji and Paper X players, if I had to guess, right? Like me, you might have some combination of Paper X or Genji players. So which one, if you were picking, should you sell of those teams? I think Genji are more reliable overall. Obviously, Paper X just lost 2-0 to Zeta. And I do think that Paper X will still beat Talon. But I think Talon are better than Nongshim. And I think that Genji, even if Genji don't stomp Nongshim, the thing is in VFL, right? You never want to get 2-0'd. That is a very important point of VFL. You never want any of your players to get 2-0'd. Because if they do, they're just not going to score many points. Basically. They're just not going to get that many points if you get 2-0'd. Now, will Talon 2-0 Paper X? Probably not. But I think that's more likely than Nongshim 2-0ing Genji. I would feel very good about Genji at least winning a map. Right? So I think I'm going to stick with Genji. The other reason I'm going to stick with Genji is because something in Forsaken costs more than Foxy 9 and Munchkin. So it's just going to give me potential better upgrades for, other players that I like. So that's, one of the reasons that I'm going to do it. If you've got texture, you could look to swap texture out. But the problem is, Kayak plays Liquid. And then you've got some other, you could go to Zekken, I suppose, against DG. That's okay. That's not too bad. So yeah, maybe you want to go to Zekken. But, there are some options of expensive teams that aren't so great. Looking at the other Pacific games just quickly. Let's talk about DRX Global. So DRX players, obviously, you want to keep. Global is a bench or get rid of at this point if you need to. In terms of cheaper options, if you're getting rid of Global, we can talk about that in a bit. And some of the players you might want to dive into, but I think, yeah, obviously you're getting rid of. Boom, Zeta, I think you can keep all of them, right? Boom obviously haven't been great, and Zeta turned up big time, but I personally don't trust Zeta that much, to be honest. So if you've still got Boom players for whatever reason, I honestly think you could keep. And then the last Pacific Games, Secret RRQ. Yeah, most people are probably going to be keeping RRQ, although I did pick Team Secret in that game, but whatever. And then DFM T1. I mean, if you've rode the DFM train this long, you might as well stick with it, right? You might as well just stick with it and pray they win against T1. And I think if you've got T1, that's perfectly fine to keep against DFM. Let's move back to EMEA now, though. Vitality, BBL, again, probably both keeps. If we look ahead to next week for BBL Vitality, again, I wouldn't be picking up these teams, I don't think. Vitality have got mates. Might lose that, right? BBL have got Foot, Turkish Derby. Like, yeah, you know, I wouldn't feel great about picking up any of their players, but if you've got them, they're not terrible, right? Fnatic Liquid, this is a problem that a lot of you are going to run into this week. You've got Fanatical Liquid players. Obviously, you're just going to ride it out, you know, because they're your best players, but it doesn't feel great, right? But obviously next week it'll be service as normal. But obviously, like, don't pick up Fanatical Liquid players this week, right? There's literally no point. You might as well just wait a week, you know, pick a Team Heretics player or, you know, a Sentinels player or whatever, right? And you're just going to get better overall the 2 weeks. Probably, right? Not guaranteed, but probably. Moving on to some of the Americas games then. If you have faith in 2G, and I did tell people, like, for instance, what I'm saying about Apex and maybe playing their players, I did that, and it's lucky I did, because Prize got me 13 points, right? So this is what I'm talking about, you know, understanding your bench, and, like, actually, even though I haven't played this player the whole time, and he's just bench fodder, well, actually, sometimes they're not just bench fodder, right? And the same could be true for Apex. Maybe you think the same is for this game as well, 2G Cloud9. Now, I will be bringing Mitch back in for Prize, so I guess I'm saying that I'm picking Cloud9, but if you wanted to, you could stick with the 2G option. It's not the worst. NRG, MIBR, tough one to call. Again, this is kind of in a similar boat, I think, to like a Vitality BBL, where, again, I'm not feeling great about those teams, like, long-term. Again, Cloud9 played G2 in the last week, so that's, you know, not great for them. And 2G play Sen, you're going to avoid that. NRG play Crew. I mean, I should have stuck with my own advice. This has been terrible for me. As soon as I picked up Kess and Luxo, I mean, Luxo got 9 points, which is fine, but last week he got, like, 2. I should have stuck with my own advice, and I'm giving you this advice again. Don't pick players from this group. Just avoid players from this group overall, because you will never know who is about to pop off. It could be anyone, in any game, at any time. I guess Sato is the one exception to that somewhat, and that he has been somewhat consistent in terms of popping off, but I would just say, just avoid everyone. There's just going to be easier, better options that are there for you. I would just avoid this group overall. Sentinels, I think, if you've got some money to spend, I would go Sentinels. I think they're looking convincing. I know they've made champs, but I think they'll stomp EG. They then play 2G. That should be 2 pretty easy wins. Like, guaranteed, like, decent points. They should just be pretty good. Again, Crew Lev. Sato maybe is the one exception to this, as I say. I mean, how many points is he averaging? Let's take a look here. He must be towards the top, though. Yeah, he's averaging 3 more points than anyone else this stage. So, yeah, maybe he is the exception to the rule of, like, sure, go in for Sato. Lev play Crew, and then they play against 100 Thieves, right? Not easy games. Lev could easily lose both those games, but Sato might still get a ton of points. So, yeah, maybe he's your pick, but I'm not sure I feel great about it, to be honest. Then the other games, I mean, again, if you want to go G2, now is a good time. They play Furia. That should be pretty easy. They then do play Cloud9, which is an easy game, and they have already qualified for champs, and they might take their foot off the gas a little bit, but they are better than these teams, and they probably will beat them. Definitely Furia. So if you want to go G2 and go Furia hunting, just for some cheap, easy points, then that is absolutely fine. And 100 Thieves play Loud. And again, I'm not feeling great about Loud. I don't feel great about my Luxor pick. I actually think 100 Thieves, as I say, they're playing against Lev the next week. I actually think if you forced me to pick a player from those teams, again, it probably would be Sato in that group. Then it would probably be 100 Thieves players next. You know, your Asnas, your Cryos, your whoever else, right? And try and get in there. But yeah, I just don't love that group. So overall, you're getting rid of Pacific players, right? I personally would say get rid of Paper Rex before Gen G, but you can also see it as whoever you've got more money indexed into, you can just get rid of that team if you've got both. Keep DRX for the final week if you've got them. Probably the rest of the games are, you know, 50-50 enough to where you can keep them if you like it. In terms of teams to index into, I think Heretics are top of the list. I think Heretics and Sentinels would be the top 2. If you do need like a bit of a, more middle of the pack option, then 100 Thieves are okay. I also think that Navi could be okay as well, as some of the options for the final weeks. So that is where I would go personally. That is get or forget. But look, hey, I had a disastrous week, so what do I know?